I've told them and I've said, I hope you realize what you're doing to your congregation here. I've got to use biblical terms for biblical people. In Genesis, it talks about how Eve was deceived. And we're still encouraged to eat food today that is harming us. How can you do something that you don't want to do? I don't want to do this, but I'm doing it. It's sort of demonic, really. 77 times it says in the Bible about fasting. And 2 Corinthians 7:1 said that we should not contaminate our body. Are you going to go on the roof, jump off the roof, break your legs, and then ask me to pray for them? And then you're going to go back on the roof, jump off the roof, break your legs, and ask God to heal your legs. God's going to say, stop jumping off the roof. Yeah. I'll help you. I'll pray for you to stop eating the way you're eating. And I'll help you and I'll come alongside you and encourage you. And I know God will do it as well.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome. Happy Tuesday morning. We have with us Treflyn, who I think maybe is from the UK. Treflyn, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine, yeah. I can hear you fine, yeah. Hi, everybody.
Yeah, it sounds like you're from the UK.
I am from the UK. I'm from Wales, actually, a small part of the UK.
Okay, yeah.
How are you doing?
I was almost in Wales earlier this year. I went out to Stonehenge in Bath, and it's not too far from the Welsh border.
Well, no, I mean, compared to the USA, everywhere in the UK is pretty close.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, I think Dr. Joan McCormack, I think, is one who had kind of got us onto you, I guess. So, I guess if that's okay with you, just go ahead and just kind of give us a little bit about your background, who you are, and kind of what kind of stuff has happened to you over time. I know you've got some thought on low carb diets. Looks like.
Well, I mean, going back, I've always had a tendency to put on weight, and I read in a newspaper that when a thin person looks in the mirror and sees a fat person, that's a real problem. Right? It's called anorexia, and I gathered that's what I had. No, seriously, I was extremely obese, and I saw myself in the mirror every night before I went to bed. And I pointed the finger at me and I said, who did this to you? Why do you look like the way you do? And the answer came back, you did. I said, well, whose fault is it? It's your fault. Now, I'm not going to get into this deeply, but I'm a man of faith, and I prayed to God, and I said, God, you've got to help me here. I know what I need to do, but I'll do the best I can if you can help me along the way. And then I was looking on YouTube because I'm quite active in producing videos, and I came across eating one meal a day, and I thought, I've tried to do this years ago, and I figured out that if you only ate one meal a day, and those were the days when I really believed that there was such a thing as a calorie, which there isn't. But anyway, it's different topic. I gathered if you pile the food on your plate and try to eat as much as you could in the day, then you wouldn't put weight on it. And I had a modicum of success with that, but I didn't really understand how it worked. So then I was watching YouTube and watching people on OMAD, and one thing led to another. And I discovered that, and I already knew from reading other books, but I discovered that there was a way of actually doing this and doing it safely. So on the, I think it was the 19th of January 2019, I jumped in with both feet, said I'm going to eat one meal a day, and I'm going to cut the carbs. I'm going to cut out all the junk food. And that's what I did. And that was it. So my journey was along that route. And I decided to write down what I was doing, what I was eating. I weighed myself regularly, and I could see the weight coming off. And along my journey of YouTubing, I came across Dr. David Unwin. And he's a local guy from Southport, which is only about 40 miles away. And I was watching him and I thought, wow, because all the other people I'd been listening to were Americans. And he mentioned Dr. Joanne McCormack in Warrington. I thought, hang on, I've got to get to know this lady. So I thought, I want to find out which doctor's surgery she works in. But I couldn't figure it out, couldn't find that out. But I did track it down to her home address. And I knocked on the door, took 5 paces back, and I said, I've been watching you on YouTube, and I'm in awe of what you've done. And as a result of that, we became good friends. And I started running meetings for her in Warrington because she said, I want to run more week meetings. And I said, well, I can help you with venues. And she said, I want to run a weekly meeting, but I'll come along once a month. And I said, who's going to run the weekly meetings for you? And she said, I don't know. And my mouth said, I'll do it. And so that was the start of it, really. So I got involved in running meetings based upon what I saw Joanne doing. I was talking about keeping carbohydrates low, not eating processed food, eating protein. Protein is obviously really, really good, and it's what we should be eating and focusing upon. And then someone introduced me to the ketogenic diet, and I said, "What's that? Don't you know about your macros?" And I'm just doing what I'm doing. So they introduced me to the ketogenic diet, and I saw the macro with all that fat on it, and a small amount of protein and a tiny amount of carbohydrates. And I thought, well, that might work better for me. So I started loading my plate with cheese. I started putting butter in my coffee. I saw Butter Bob Briggs. And then all of a sudden, my weight loss stalled. I wasn't losing any weight. And I didn't really understand what was going on here. But then I looked back at my journal and I saw, well, this only happened when I started adding fat to my plate. And by now I was getting a bit more savvy about understanding what ketones were and why it was called the ketogenic diet and how our bodies metabolized food. So I realized that when you cut out the fat, as per se on the ketogenic diet, you go back into producing the ketones from the fat on your body, not the fat that you're eating. And that's what we really want to do. If you want to lose weight, you need to eat up all that fat on your body because it's food. It's stored food on your body. And I said to people, grab hold of that. Well, that's Christmas dinner, 2017. That's your birthday. We're walking around with food on our bodies, and yet we're sticking food in our mouths. And what's the point? What's the point? So since then, when COVID came, I set up a Facebook group called the Keep Fat Club. And I called it that because instead of being a Keep Fit Club, I wanted to have a Keep Fat Club. But it was just a play on words. But I was still struggling against people talking about the ketogenic diet. So I came up with a term called low carbohydrate, low fat. And I acronymed it to Local Loafer. And I thought people won't like that name, but they've embraced it. So that's where I'm at. So we have a group of people on Facebook, about 2,500 people on Facebook. I set up a YouTube channel called Warrington Low Carbohydrate Group, which is, I think it's on that side of me, over here, over there. Yeah, there you go. On YouTube, where I post my videos, and we have people, I think like about 9,000 people on there. So that's my story, and I'm just keeping on. I don't do it for any gain. I do it to help people who want to help themselves. Because when you've done the very, very best that you can for yourself, then, I was just trusting in the Lord then to see me through it. So I don't know if that's enough for you, Dr. Baker. Is that okay?
No, there's quite a bit of stuff, and congratulations on your success. I want to ask a few little follow-on questions there. So do you remember what you weighed when you started this journey? How heavy you were in either pounds, kilos, stones? I can convert any of them, so whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever you prefer.
20 stone, 5 pounds.
20 stone. That's 285 pounds for the non-stone people. It's 14 stone per pound. So 285, that's quite big. So how did that journey go? Where did you progress, and where are you at today?
Right. Well, my journey, it took me 12 months, and I lost 9.5 stone. I think that's 135 pounds, if my memory serves me correctly. Yeah. And so that took me down to 11 stone, 5 pounds. And today, 4 years in January this year, I'll be starting my 5th year. I think I put on about 7 pounds since then. So we go up and down, up and down. I say to people, if you drive a car, it's like doing a hill start. You're playing on the clutch, and you're playing on the accelerator, and you're just keeping the two. So you're going up a bit, down a bit, up a bit, down a bit. And maintenance is the hardest part of all, really. Once you've got to where you want to be, staying there, maintaining it there, that's where you really got to get tough.
Yeah, so nearly half your entire body weight. You've lost, almost cut yourself in half from that. That's a lot of meals. If you say you're carrying food around, you're carrying a lot of meals around. It's interesting, because you said you're not big on the concept of calories, but you're I guess you must be eating more protein because if you're low carb and low fat, you got to be eating something. So I assume protein is relatively high.
I do. Yeah. I mean, I don't skimp. I don't skimp on the protein. I'm eating one meal a day, and I have been now for 4 years. I'll be starting my 5th year in January. So I've been on OMAD and beyond. So I've done like 96-hour fasts. Because every so often, I have a blowout. I get it wrong. I can't eat one biscuit. Now, you might think that's good. No, I have to eat the whole packet. Yeah. I haven't eaten the packet of biscuits. I then got to attack a cake. And it's usually when I'm in the wrong place and there's temptation around. So I'm a carbohydrate addict, really, to be honest with you. Yeah, and I've got to work really, really hard. And I know that protein satiates me. It stops me going where I want to go. But I like the taste of all food, and that's the problem. But it's knowing which foods are good for maintaining your weight and keeping you healthy. And I've shifted all that fat off my body. At one time, I was having problems walking. I went on holiday to Spain and had to hire a mobility scooter. Now, I don't have those issues. I can get up off the floor unaided. I can stand up very quickly. And I don't have pains. Yeah,
that's a big thing. And it's really, like a lot of people, it's like some food you just can't moderate, and I mean, people will say, well, if you just have one biscuit, one small slice of cake, you're fine. But myself included, I mean, I was the same guy, man. I was like, one pint of ice cream was an appetizer. Like, who would eat that? Who could eat, so I get that totally. When you say, I mean, your diet now, if it's low carbohydrate, low fat, what are you eating? What does it look like? And how much fat is actually in there? Because there's not no fat. You can't survive with no fat. We can survive without carbohydrates, but we have to have some fat in our diet.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Well, I have some photographs, if that's okay. Am I allowed to share?
Let me give you. Let me give you access. Hang on just a second. I'll allow you to be able to share. Okay. Now you can share your screen.
Right. Regarding the meats I eat, these are all the meats that I eat. Right. Mm-hmm. So I'm not a big fish eater. Yeah. So I tend to eat these foods more than anything else. What I want to do, if I can just come off this for a second. And I'll find the other screen, which actually shows the plates of my meals.
Mm-hmm. So I saw a lot of meat on there, basically.
yeah, there's a lot of meat on there. Yeah, absolutely. Regarding the vegetables that I eat, obviously those are all low carbohydrate vegetables. But isn't it always the way when you're looking for something? Why is it that you can't find it? Here we go. Facebook. Here we go. Here's the meals.
It's always in the last place we look. Whenever we find something, it's always in the last place we look, and then we stop looking.
Always. Yeah, that's it. It's always the last place. Why does it work out like that? Have you figured that one out yet?
Well, I guess because you quit looking once you find it. So.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. Okay, that's a good view. These are the. I don't know if you can see those there. Can you see those meals there?
I can, yeah. They look quite tasty.
Okay, so that's just like that'd be a curry. There's plenty of meat on that, and I don't skimp on my meals, and I don't eat it off a small plate. Mm-hmm. Eggs there with some broccoli and some cauliflower. That's like an omelette I made. There you go. I'm big into my stir fries. I love my stir fries. So I don't bother about the fat that I put into them. Again, plenty of protein there. Chicken thighs with sprouts. Stir fries again with bean sprouts. That's sort of a mixed omelette, or omelettes. So I go through phases. Plenty of meat there. How's that? How's that for some steak there? But again, I'm not skimping on my meals, Yeah. And not at all. So those basically what my meals tend to look like.
Yeah, and I think well, I mean, obviously devoid of processed food. There's no sugary foods in there. So I mean, most people would say that looks pretty good. Even many physicians would even say so. I mean, there's some vegetable on there. There's some fiber in there. some high quality protein in there. So I don't think many people would fault you with that. And it's obviously working for you. I like to see the fact that there's, good quality protein in there. So that's great. Good for you.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's basically it. So, it's trying to figure out a way of eating the food that you like according to the way that you like to eat it. I mean, I'll eat the same meal every day. I'm not bothered. You give me the same meal every day. And 9 times out of 10, I'll eat it. Occasionally, I'll just make myself a big, massive omelette, Yeah. Or I'll just have some steak and I'll pile 2 or 3 eggs on it. I've even had eggs on salad, fried eggs on salad. Why not?
Yeah.
Do what you want. Have what you want.
Well, you got to enjoy what you're eating. And I'm very similar. I pretty much eat almost the same thing every day, regardless. I mean, I vary up the type of steak, but I mean, generally, I had the same thing for the last, I think, 5 or 6 days of eating the same meal. So as you have, you've gone through this journey where you just, you kind of made this realization that, certain foods are problematic for you and they're easily overeaten. Do you find that there was any struggles or errors you made during the way? I mean, you mentioned going really high fat was a problem for you. What kind of difficulties did you have over the years?
Okay. Are you talking before I lost weight or since I've lost weight?
Well, either, whichever, I mean, certainly,
Okay. I mean, okay. Before that, before I lost weight, I'd have a hearty breakfast, I like a fry up. So I'd have some toast, baked beans, sausages, hash browns, black pudding. I don't know if you have them over there in America.
We don't have we don't have black pudding. I'm not even sure if it's legal in the United States. It might be some issue where it's not legal, but I've had it before and it's quite good. So people don't know it's blood, basically.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. And so, I would eat all of that stuff. Cornflakes I would eat. All the stuff that you shouldn't eat. And then 2 hours later, you're hungry. So you grab a sandwich or something else and you go out back at the crisps. And for years and years, my wife and I, we worked as professional children's entertainers and we had a touring roadshow. So we would eat a service area diet, So it would be, chocolate bars, sandwiches that we'd buy, or sandwiches that we'd make and take with us, and we were eating out of a tin. So it was just too easy. And I used to like a drink. So, drinking beer didn't bother me. I worked as a professional clown for over 20 years. So it was okay being too big. That wasn't a major problem for me, But when I got into my sort of 70s, early 70s, I thought, I don't want to be like this because I was struggling to walk, struggling to get around. And I wasn't able to move up with my grandkids. So that, I just want to live a long time. This is the best life I've ever had. Come on. And so I just want to make the most of it, really. And at the end of the day, do you know something? If I came to you, Dr. Baker, and I said, look, can you have a look at this, please? And he said, what's the problem? I said, my mouth is bleeding. Oh, look at all these cuts inside here. What would you say to me? Come on, let's have a sort of a bit of a scenario. What would you say to me?
If you had a bunch of cuts in your mouth?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you'd have to want, well, what are you eating? What, have you had some trauma to it?
I'm chewing razor blades.
Yeah. Well, that seems like something not a good idea. Yeah.
Okay. So what do you recommend?
Stop chewing the razor blades. How would that start?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So in sorry to do that to you. I hope you'll forgive me. What I'm trying to say here is that I came to the realization that I was self-harming, and if I was cutting myself with razor blades or sticking nails in my arms or, jumping off the roof and breaking my legs and then go to hospital, getting my legs fixed and doing it again, people say, what's the matter with you? You're crazy or what? So I was self-harming with food. And that's what we do. We are self-harming. We're screwing up our own lives, our own wonderful God-given bodies. The Bible tells me that we're fearfully and wonderfully made. And it tells in the Bible that we should not do anything to damage our bodies, but we'll put that to one side for now. But we're self-harming. And why would we want to do something stupid like that? So we've got to wake up and come to the realization that if it works, it can't be wrong. If it doesn't work, it can't be right. And I don't think that the diet that is out there today, the way that people are advised to eat, it's not working. It's working for somebody. Somebody's making a pretty penny out of it. Ain't me. But having said that, we're self-harming, and come to that realization, would you want to self-harm? Not really, no.
Yeah, and that's kind of the definition of addiction is, something that's harmful to you, but you continue to do it regardless. And I think that the problem is, I think a lot of people are unaware. I mean, because we all have to eat. It's not like, you have to drink alcohol, but everybody that lives on earth pretty much has to eat something. And so if you don't know what's causing harm and what's not, sometimes it's hard to figure out. So a lot of people are ignorant to the fact that they're harming themselves through food. I mean, some of it's obvious, if you spend all day eating, crisps and biscuits and, cakes and ice creams and things like that, most people understand it. But a lot of the stuff we just don't realize is harmful to us. You said you're somewhere in your 70s, or how old are you now, Treflyn?
76.
76. So you've been around a while enough to see how the diet has changed in Wales and over the years. What have you seen, like back when you were, a younger person, a kid, how was the diet? Has it changed dramatically today?
I think so. I mean, along this journey, I bought a book about the Atkins diet. I went to a group over here called Slimming World. I don't know if you have them over there. So I've done all that bit, trying to cut down on food. I hadn't got a clue about how our bodies worked in terms of metabolizing food. Now, I've got an engineering background, so I'm very technically minded. And I understand, and I know exactly that the calorie is the amount of heat required to raise 1 gram of water through 1 degree centigrade. But I couldn't ever understand how they could put calories in terms of food any more than you could say this apple's got so many horsepowers in it, or so many joules in it, or so many whatever else unit of energy you want to use. And so I think bringing calories into food is in my mind, it's ridiculous, because you can't eat a calorie. And I made a video on YouTube, and you can watch it on the Warrington Low Carbohydrate group. It's called "Can You Eat a Calorie?" And so, we've got to understand that trying to measure our foods or saying that you're eating too many calories it's just bunkum, right? And if that offends anybody, then I don't mean to do that. But having said that, we've got to be real. And as a child, every meal that I had a pile of bread and butter by the side of it, and that was the way I was brought up. My mother just fed us. My mother was short and fat. And my sister, she was short and fat. My father was short but slim. And my brother, as far as I know, is still slim. But the food then, it was totally different. We used to play out a lot, which kids don't do these days, so I suppose we were active. But I've learned since then that you can run around the field for as long as you want, and you won't lose any weight, because you're going to have to stop and eat. And you'll probably fill up on all the stuff that got you there in the first place, So I think our diet today is bonkers. I think the way that the NHS over here in the UK advocate what they call the Eat Well plate is bonkers. I think it's a shame that doctors aren't trained in nutrition. That's bonkers. And it takes people like Joanne McCormack and Dr. David Unwin and yourself and lots of other people out there who I think are giving out the real information. And people should, wake up and take notice. I do this, not out to gain, but I just want to help people who want to help themselves. But if they don't want to help themselves, then crack on. Don't bother me. But I'll do everything I can to help you and to give people good advice. Which is, in my mind, if your advice isn't based upon evidence or experience, then it isn't worth anything. But I'm always willing to listen, because I always run the risk of learning something.
Yeah, I wanted just an interesting question. You mentioned your mother was short and fat and your father was lean, and presumably they ate the same food living in the same house. So was there a difference between the way you may not even remember, maybe did your dad eat more of whatever and your mom eat more of this or that?
Well, I think my mum was at home all day, so she would eat more, obviously. Okay. And when I went to school as a child, my mum would give me packed sort of a box, or no, it wasn't a box, it was just sandwiches wrapped, because I used to come home on a train. And so before I came home for my meal, I would be eating food at 3:30 in the afternoon because they made these sandwiches for me. And so I was used to snacking, and food was always available. There was always bread and butter, even if we were having potatoes, as we call over here, a Sunday lunch, the same as you would have maybe for your Christmas dinner, chicken or meat or whatever, with all the vegetables. But there'll be bread and butter on the table always, and then rice pudding. And my mum was always baking cakes and pies. So I was just brought up to eat all that stuff,
And as a child, were you overweight? I mean, when did you start? How old were you when you started to feel like you were overweight?
Well, I was always, if you like, chubby. I was never, lean and slim and that, I always had sort of moobs and a little bit of a belly. But I became sort of fat, I would say, in my 40s, what I would call really fat, not caring, boozing and, throwing the pints down the neck and eating all the wrong food and doing all the wrong stuff,
Yeah.
I wasn't living a good life.
And
I thought I was at the time.
Let me just, because you mentioned you lost a lot of weight, you're functionally allowed to be able to get up and off down the floor, not you're requiring mobility scooters to move around. What are some of the benefits you've noticed? I mean, maybe you could be more that's thorough on some of the benefits you've noticed: digestion, sleep, mental health. Any other things that you've seen benefits on.
Okay. I sleep for as long as I want to sleep. If I go on an extended fast, if I go on, say, 48 or 72 or 96-hour fast, my sleeping patterns are really disturbed by the ketones. And I'm told that it's the adrenaline flushing through your body as well. And I just feel so alive and so alert. I just don't feel tired. I have all this extra additional energy. I was up at 5 a.m. this morning, working here. And so I feel really, really good. I don't have the aches and pains anymore. I don't have the, can't be bothered. The remote control is there to stop me reaching for the TV. But I used to ask my wife to pass me the remote control because it would have been a bit of an effort for me to get off the chair and get it, myself. And I just started leading this sedentary life, really. And I'd struggle walking up the stairs, and my breathing was getting a bit heavier. I was struggling a bit. In 2014, I had a TIA, and then 2 weeks later, I had a stroke. And that put paid to a business that I was running. And I thought, where's it going? Where's this going? And I set up a video production company. I was making talking head videos. I've got videos of me now. And I just unbelievable. If it was muscle, then I'd say great. But it wasn't. It was fat. It was food I was walking around in. But my mental clarity is far, far better now. I don't struggle with anything, honestly. I can run. I couldn't run before, and if I tried to run, my feet would ache. But now I can run. I'm not a fast runner, but I can run. I can run across the road. I could play football with my grandson, which I couldn't do before. It's just turned my life around completely, absolutely completely.
Yeah, I mean, it got you back into life. I mean, I would argue if you had continued on the path you were on before, you would just slowly you're just kind of waiting around to die at that point, in my view. And it's kind of
that's how I saw it. I really, really saw. What have I got ahead of me? I'm sitting in the armchair. I'm watching TV. I still watch TV. I like watching TV, but I'm sitting here, can't be bothered getting up. Everything was an effort. Moving all that food around all day was an effort. Going on a plane. I mean, wow. If I went on holiday in the plane, the flap that comes down, the tray that you put your food on, I was eating on a hill. Seriously, I had to put my meal on my wife's flap or hope that there was nobody in the seat next door. And I'd have to hold my little, whatever it was, dish or whatever, because I couldn't, because my belly was so big that the tray was on a hill. Getting into the car, my belly was touching the steering wheel. It was awful, And if somebody parked too close to the car and I couldn't get in through the driver's door, but I had to climb into the passenger door. It would take me 20 minutes to get from the passenger seat to the drive. I had to really struggle, and that happened a couple of times. It was scary. But I don't have those issues now.
Yeah, it's clearly it's challenging, and it's unfortunate. I see a lot of people are starting to say that it's okay to be this hugely overweight, obese. There's a lot of this, body positivity. Just it's okay to do that. We're clearly it causes problems. Even if there's not direct medical issues going on at the time, your quality of life is harder. You do struggle, and it's kind of like people expect the world to accommodate this. I need cars with farther steering wheels or airplanes with bigger seats and all this stuff. Where it's just not practical for most of it. It's probably more practical for you to get down to a reasonably normal weight, which I think is not asking too much. Do you get a lot of people that disagree with you, that think that you're crazy, this doesn't work, why are you talking like this?
That's a great question. I like that question. There was a local event on here in Warrington about 3 months ago, and it was called Disability Awareness Day, and it's for services to help people who have got disabilities. But there's also a stand there for charities or if you like, non-income groups like myself. I'm not a registered charity, but I'm a non-profit. And so I got a stand there free, and I set my stand up. I got videos running on 3 laptops showing people's testimonials, videos of me before and now and what have you, and a big pop-up banner and all the handouts and everything. And this lady came up to me and said, can you explain to me what it is that you're doing? And I showed her and told her. She said, I think that's very dangerous. I said, oh, really? She says, yes, I'm a nutritionist. And seriously, I'm not joking. She was short and fat, really was like the sugar plum fairy. And I looked at her straight in the eye and I said, if your opinion isn't based upon your own experience and evidence, I said, I'm not interested. And she looked at me and walked away. And I thought, don't come back.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my own doctor wants to put me on statins, and he's got no chance of doing that. But when I was running the support groups for Joanne McCormack, I'm just looking for something if you're wondering what I'm doing. My own doctor was sending his patients to me, because when people came to the group, I said, how did they hear of this? And they told me that they said they were sent by my doctor to my group, those people with type 2 diabetes. There's too much evidence out there that we have to look after ourselves. And what I was going to show you was, with your permission, is that I was given a full-page article in our local newspaper. Yeah. Now you'd imagine that the whole of Warrington would be running to my doorstep and trying to get hold of me. No, they're not. But it's not that they don't know who I am. They do. And I've run support group meetings at a local pub on Tuesday afternoons. I run 3 Zoom support group meetings a week. And I help people who want to help themselves. But people, seriously, they want a quick fix. They don't realize that it takes time and effort and hard work. And it's your health at the end of the day. This is one life we've got, and let's enjoy it. Let's get the best we can. And for ourselves and for our families, I've got 3 grandchildren. I've got 2 sons. I want to be there for them for as long as I can. I've got a wife that I love dearly. I want to be there for her for as long as I can. And she's the same. We want to look after each other.
Yeah, obviously, quality of life and spending that with people you love and care for is incredibly important. It should motivate many people. Is your wife on a similar journey? Did she change her diet when you did? Was there any sort of hesitation there?
Yeah. One day the window cleaner came, and I always used to sort of try and look after him. And I said, would you like me to make you a sandwich? And he said, yeah, I'll have a cheese sandwich. And I went to the bread bin, and there wasn't any bread there, so I just gave him the cheese. I mean, I wasn't eating the bread myself, but I just gave him the cheese. And I rang my wife up and said, Anne, you better buy some bread, because there isn't any bread in the bread bin. She said, I'm not eating it. She said, I haven't eaten it for 3 weeks. Really? And she said, yeah. And she lost 2 stone. She's not fat. She's not prone to putting on weight like I am. So some mornings she maybe have scrambled eggs. Today she hasn't had anything to eat. So she doesn't say, oh, I'm on OMAD today. She just eats when she wants to eat. But sometimes she's lucky she can maybe just grab an ice cream once a month or something like that, or have a little treat. I can't afford to do that because I can't have one little treat. I've got to have 10 little treats or one big treat, you know. So there's always a temptation around. And I always say to people, if you don't take it home, you can't eat it. But we have grandchildren come to stay with us, and we can't deny them that which they have at home, although we try to teach them that it's not good to eat the stuff they're eating. But I don't want them to say they don't want to come and see us because we won't let them have apple juice, or we won't let them have whatever it is that they want. So we just have to, you know, accept it is what it is. But, you know, they know.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting with, you know, if you give them, first of all, feed them up on the good quality food in the first place, they're not so hungry for the other stuff. And then sometimes you can make, you know, there's different recipes where you can kind of tailor it so it's a little, maybe a little less problematic, I suppose. You know, you'd mentioned, kind of briefly touched on diabetes, and David Unwin, who I'm sure you know has done quite a bit of research around diabetes.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I've actually worked with David. Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful fella. I always enjoy chatting with David. Do you? I mean, you know, you say you're meeting in a pub, which is, you know, to get healthy, which is kind of a funny sort of thing to say. But I mean, it's interesting because, you know, most pubs, you know, you're going to have some kind of, I mean, I don't meat pies, and I don't know what the pub food is in Wales, but
yeah, I mean, well, the pub I go to serves excellent food. It's called Wetherspoons. I'm not shy to say it. But you can buy one cup of coffee. I mean, I know over there in America, so I'm told you have bottomless coffee cups. Over here, you don't. So you can buy one cup of coffee for £1.35, and we can stay there for as long as we want. And those people who come along will come along, and they don't grab food, they don't drink beer. You know, they are there because they want to come and talk to me. They want to be encouraged and inspired. You know, I don't go around the tables evangelizing, saying you shouldn't be eating that, it's got too many carbohydrates in it, you know. And we just find a corner, we just sit there, and we just have a chat and get on. But if anybody happens to overhear it and they come on and say, I hear you guys mention this and that and the other, what's going on? Then I'll give them a leaflet, I'll tell them, you know, what it's about, and I'll encourage them, and I'll say, if you want to come and sit with us, you're more than welcome. You can listen. If you don't want to take any notice, don't want to take anything home with you, you don't have to do. But we're just there to share, you know. So you have to go where the problem is. You know, no good going to a health club and you know, talking about, you know, healthy eating, because the guys say, well, I'm in the gym and I'm doing this and I'm doing that, you know. So, yeah, that's why we go there, because we meet ordinary people there. We meet people with a problem. You know, and those are the people we want to meet.
Yeah, good strategy. So, it's a good strategy. Yeah. How much impact do you feel like you've been able to have on people's lives you've been able to adjust or improve, and what kind of things have you seen get better?
Wow. Right. There's one guy called Harvey Olick. He was 40-odd stone when he joined us, and he lost 30 stone in weight. He was told that he was going to have to spend the rest of his life in bed. And he lost 30 stone on his journey with us on local offer.
Wow.
You know,
30 stone. That's an incredible amount. That's 420 pounds if I'm doing the math right.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. And he's still on the journey. He's still in touch. You know, and people come and people go. And I think one of the problems is, I don't know how you find it, people always want a quick fix, you know. Same as me when I first started and I found out what worked. I just cut my carbohydrates low, and I wasn't adding fat. I didn't have any need to. But when I saw the ketogenic diet, I thought this is something even better than what I'm doing. But what I was doing wasn't broken. But I broke it by doing something different. And people say, well, I'm not losing weight fast enough, so I'm going to go on to this now. I'm going to go on to that. I'm going to try this. And, you know, everybody out there is an expert. It's like you go to a football match. Everybody out there is a better referee than the guy who's down there on the field, you know. Everybody's got better eyesight than the guy who's right in the middle of the game. And it's the same with this. You know, people say, well, I've heard this and I've heard that. And that's why I say, is your opinion based on experience or evidence? No, it's what I've heard. Then it's not important, Go and find the facts, find out what works. And if somebody says, eating toilet rolls I feel much better through eating paper, and I've lost all this weight, I say, well, if it works for you, if it works, it's not wrong. If it doesn't work, it's not right. And what we're doing now isn't right. It's not working. And I don't care how much advice we're giving, low fat. They're still selling vegetable oil out there. They're still encouraging us to eat these health bars and drink these energy drinks. I mean, come on, where's the sense in this? Why is this happening? It's all about the money, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm just wondering how humans survive without energy drinks and health bars, hundreds and hundreds of years ago, we must have just been all tired and dragging around. I mean, I've got all the,
absolutely.
We have this need for energy bars and that type of stuff, which is quite humorous now. Do you, as far as, find that there's more purpose? I mean, you were a clown for a long time. Do you do any of that stuff, or do you still do any of the clown stuff?
That was me there.
Yeah. Are you still doing any of that stuff, or is that in the past?
No. At the moment now, I make guitars. I play guitar. I run Christian worship meetings. I'm very involved. I won't say I'm involved in the church. I go to a prison every Sunday. And I help out with the chaplaincy there, and just try and be a good guide to people, really. I don't browbeat them. I always say, people say, well, if you're a Christian, I suppose you're going to try and make me a Christian. And I say, no, not at all. If God wants to get through to you, he doesn't need me to do it, but I'm there to help people if they want to be helped, but I ain't going to bang your door down. I ain't going to force you to do anything that you don't want to do. But if you really want to do it, then ask me and I'll help you the best way I can. And if what I'm saying doesn't work for you, then I'll point you in the way of somebody else who might have something different to offer that's worked for them. So people on the local Alpha group, they come along and they say, I've slipped up, I'm doing this, I put weight on, I'm finding this difficult, I've eaten this, I've done that. And there's no recrimination. Hey, we've all been there, we've all done it. I'm the biggest sinner of all, when it comes to slipping off and eating a packet of biscuits. I can do it in a heartbeat. I've got to work very, very hard at staying where I am. It's not easy. It's really difficult. It's really difficult for me.
Yeah, I think it's good to hear, because I mean, a lot of people sort of get seduced and think that it's always going to be easy, and I'm the same way. I have to constantly think about it and actively try to be healthy. I mean, it's not something that's going to happen. I think all the forces of entropy and gravity and time are, and they never take a day off, and they're always pushing the other way. So you have to be active about this stuff. And so good for you to say that. Because, there's people saying, well, it's hard. Well, it's always, there's different hearts, and it was probably harder to be obese and not able to walk and needing mobility scooters, correct?
Yeah, that's right. If I can just add this, I don't know if I can ask you a question as a doctor, and I'm learning all the time. I understand, and this is, again, it's not based upon evidence or experience, which is why I'm asking the question. I understand that cancer thrives on sugar, on glucose, glycogen in the body, but it can't thrive on ketones. Can I ask you is that correct? Is that true, or is this something I've just heard which is not real?
Yeah, so that's based on observation made by Otto Warburg, looking at the fact that a lot of cancers, not all, but many of them tend to upregulate glucose metabolism, and you can see that on a PET scan. So there is, evidence that certain types of cancers tend to preferentially utilize glucose and at a high rate. And so, yes, there's some truth to that. That's not the only fuel they can use. Dr. Seafried will talk about the fact that many of them switch over to glutamate metabolism, which is, something that we endogenously make. As we endogenously make glucose too. I mean, our body makes glucose. So you can't be no glucose. So, But yeah,
there's a process of gluconeogenesis. Yeah.
Right. So there is some research out there looking at ketogenic diets and other low carbohydrate diets as respect to cancer, and some of the early data in animals, some of the human data seems to show that there may be an effect to doing that. It's not by no means is it conclusive yet, but there is a lot of ongoing research on this topic. So that in theory, there's something going on that may show that there's some benefit. I can tell you my experience with patients that have been dealing with cancer, that many of them go on low carb ketogenic carnivore diets, often at least feel that they have sometimes better outcomes with response to treatment. Some of them see, we've got several anecdotes where people have put cancer in remission by low carb, zero carb diet. So, there's some evidence that shows that to be true for sure.
Yeah. I hear people with these ailments saying, yeah, you gotta have a treat. We've got type 2 diabetes. Why are you having chips on your plate? Surely that's not good for you. Yeah, but you gotta have a treat. Oh, go on then. I'll just pass me a nail. I'll just bang it in my foot and I'll say, I've got to have a treat. I've got to self-harm. It's crackers. I just don't get it. That's different to addiction, I think. That's deliberate. Yeah. If that's something, you've been treated for this, you're taking medication for it, you're sticking a needle in your body, whether it's metformin or whether you're putting, whatever. Why would you want to do something that would perpetuate that? I don't get it.
Well, I think there's a lot of addiction there, and to be fair, there are people that can, like your wife, can have the occasional treat, and it's not a problem for them. So it's one of you have to sort of deal with it. And there are clearly people that can't, and like I said, I think
people that shouldn't if they've got type 2 diabetes.
Right. Yeah,
and they're still on medication.
Yeah, but not everybody does what they should or shouldn't do. For sure.
I know.
So, just what is the environment like in Wales right now with regard to nutrition? Are you guys being bombarded with, we need to stop eating cows and we just need to all eat plants and grains to save the planet? Is that what you're being told there?
No. I live in Warrington, which is in England, but in the UK here, it's same old. No, nothing, not at all. Now they've got veggie burgers. They've got something that tastes like meat, which isn't meat. Why would you want to have fake meat? If you want to eat meat. Why do you want to eat something that tastes like meat that isn't meat? And I don't get it. I just don't get it.
There's a lot of people saying that eating meat is bad for us, and health wise, and there's other people saying that eating meat is now destroying the planet suddenly. Not that we haven't had millions of years of animals roaming the planets, in greater numbers in many cases than we have now, but that's now suddenly a concern, and I think it's largely corporate interests that want to new market share. Yeah, so it's kind of a shame there. Do you, outside of changing your diet, and you mentioned that you occasionally fast, is there anything else you're doing that has helped you with your overall health?
Yeah. I can wear the clothes that I like to wear. Before I used to dress up big, black and baggy, and that was it. If I was going to a wedding, it would be a sweatshirt, jogging bottoms, or big elasticated size jeans. And I was a mess, really was a mess. Now, I dress the way I like to dress. I like to dress with a bit of style. It's a style that I like. It might not be everybody else's taste, but hey ho. I love the Western look. I like waistcoats. I like, pointed shoes that the cowboys would have worn in the day. I like my bowler, I like that kind of stuff. So I can wear the clothes that I like to wear. So going out shopping for clothes now is great fun. Before, when my wife used to say to me, I'm going to town, do you want to come round? No, I don't want to walk around the shops, because I'd have to find a seat every 20 feet. Because I just couldn't walk around, where now, let's go and see what's out there. And I love going to charity shops, because you can get some real bargains in there. But seriously, I mean, life is far more fun now. It's far much better. It's far better for me. It really is, honestly. My social life is better. Meeting with people through this group has given me so much encouragement, and I just love helping people. Seriously, it's just brilliant to be able to see people who are struggling, and seeing them coming off the problems. But some people just don't want to do it. They say it's too hard. Or if I can't eat chips and potatoes and bread and rice and pasta, what am I going to eat? What else is there? And that's why we encourage people to post our meals on the local Alpha group on Facebook. People put the meals up there so people get ideas of what they can eat. And we've got quite a number of people there who are just totally carnivore, and that's fine. That's great. Nothing against it at all. I think it's good. I mean, sometimes I won't put any plant-based food on my plate. I've got chicken thighs. I put them in the oven. We'll cook a whole lot of chicken thighs off, and I'll just eat them. Can eat them cold, eat them hot, put them in the stir fry if I want to do. I love the skin, crispy skin on chickens. Love it.
Yeah, well, I guess one of the downsides of doing a diet like this is you have to buy a new wardrobe. So
yeah.
you have to pick up some new clothes, which I guess if you can afford it, it's fine. But do you?
Well, that's why I go to the charity shops.
Do you find that obviously within, you said you do you go to church, or you're involved in the church? Do you find that there's resistance to that? Because a lot of church, there's a lot of people bringing in foods, and they have these meetings, and it's a lot of junk food a lot of times. Do you have anybody that's kind of making it?
Yeah, I've spoken to them about it. I've told them, and I've said, I hope you realize what you're doing to your congregation here. You're not doing them any favors, because what you're doing is you're poisoning them. And I know it's harsh. And I say this to them, and I've got to use biblical terms for biblical people. I'll say, in Genesis, it talks about how Eve was deceived because she was encouraged to eat the fruit from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and we're still encouraged to eat food today that is harming us. And and I do believe in the spiritual realm because I've got experience of that and evidence of that myself. And I still believe that there's an entity out there which is trying to kill us. And I've even said, this is not me. This is, addiction. How can you do something that you don't want to do? It's crazy. It's daft. I don't want to do this, but I'm doing it. And we call it addiction. But I think it's to put two bloods a word on it. It's sort of demonic, really, in a way, when you think about it. And I've got to fight this every day of my life. Every day I've got to stand against it. And so I say to the people in the church, you've heard what I've said. And if, the Bible talks 77 times, it says in the Bible about fasting. And 2 Corinthians 7:1 said that we should not contaminate our body. And there's several of scriptures in there. And this is not me being, religious. I'm not religious. Thank God for that. But I just have a relationship with God, and that's it. But, how it came about is a totally other different story. But yet, the churches, lots of pastors in churches are overweight, obese. A lot of their congregation who are old have got type 2 diabetes, arthritis, Parkinson's diseases, all these diseases, which I know food plays a part in it. The wrong food plays a part in it,
It certainly does. Yeah. And it's interesting that I think some of the, if you look back into some like the religious prohibitions on different types of foods and recommendations, some of that was based on the fact that if you ate that way, you would have a sick congregation. They were trying to keep their congregation healthy. And so some of the prohibitions on certain foods, I know pork was a concern with parasites back in the day. And so that a lot of, that's why, the Jewish and the Muslim faith they kind of keep pork out of that diet. And so it's interesting to see that now we don't really talk about that. Because, if you look at, if you go to, like you mentioned, a lot of the people who go to church, overweight, obese, arthritic, diabetic, and we just sit there and, we just got to pray for them more. We got to pray for Sister Susie. Well, why don't, instead of, God gave you enough intelligence to eat the right way.
Yeah. And I say to people, I seriously say, are you going to go on the roof, jump off the roof, break your legs, and then ask me to pray for them? And then you're going to go back on the roof, jump off the roof, break your legs, and ask God to heal your legs. God's going to say, stop jumping off the roof.
Yeah.
You know, and so I'm not praying for you. No, I'm not going to pray for you. I won't. I'll help you. I'll pray for you to stop eating the way you're eating. And I'll help you and I'll come alongside you and encourage you. And I know God will do it as well. You know, because I'm not, I'm just a vessel, really. I'm just a conduit. But we have to, you know, the information is out there. You know, and I know that the real information is out there amongst all the junk, all the bad stuff that we've been told over the years that is the right thing to do. And we've got ourselves into a right state now, into a really, really bad way, where we just accept that which is bad as normal. You know, we have to have 3 meals a day. You've got to have your breakfast. It's the most important meal upon the day. You know, Dr. Kellogg made all this food for you to get you off to a good start. Now, years ago, there was an advertising campaign which was go to work on an egg. You don't see that these days. You never see that. Not now. You don't see go to work on an egg, but they'll advertise all the cereal bars and all the, you know, that there's high carbohydrate foods and everything, all the processed foods that's out there. You know, so anyway.
Yeah, we've definitely seen it.
It's a strange one.
We've definitely,
you know, it's up to every person. I don't know the people who are here tonight watching this. I say hi to all of you. Thanks for looking in. It's nice to know that you're hearing what I'm saying. But I'm just hoping it's helping somebody out there. You know, and I know you haven't been waiting for me to come along. I'm not your messiah, but I can only share the experience and the evidence that I gleaned along my journey for the last 3 years, and obviously the time before that when I got it all wrong. You know,
and all of us, and I'm no more special or gifted than anyone else with this, and we all have a role to play here, and I think it's wonderful. Treflyn, we're running out of time. Unfortunately, it's been wonderful chatting with you. Where do people go to find out more about Lofa or you in general? Where can they go on social media if you're willing to share that?
Okay. Lofa it's on Facebook, right? It's LOCA. LOFA. It stands for low carbohydrate, low fat. And you can look in if you want to, you can participate if you want. And over there on Warrington Low Carbohydrate Group, that's on YouTube. That's where I post my videos and my stories on there, and interviews I've done with other people are on there as well. So I produce videos. I've got a small home studio here now, which I'm working from today. As you can see, I'm using my Zoom background here, which I'm a great advocate of. But it's all about just getting the message out there. And even if people come on Local Loaf and they have a look in and they ask questions, even if I haven't got the answer, there's somebody out there who has. And we have members over in America, over in Canada, down in the Philippines and Australia. You know, nothing to do with me. I haven't done a shed load of marketing to get this off the ground. God's done it, you know, because he wants you well. You know, he wants you well. God doesn't want you well. And this is not me being religious, seriously. You know, God is real and he doesn't want you well, but you've got to help yourself. And when you do the possible, God will do the impossible. That's all I can say on that one.
Well, that's a great way to end this. Treflyn, thank you. It's been wonderful chatting with you. Folks, we have another one of these at 3 p.m. today with another guest from, I think, Australia and New Zealand, so the time zone. So if you can remember, we'll stop by at 3. Treflyn, have a wonderful evening. God bless you and keep doing what you're doing. Thanks for doing this. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Lovely to have had the opportunity of sharing this with you and meeting you. Take care. God bless you all. Bye.
Bye-bye, guys. See you later. Hey, folks, it's Dr. ShawnBaker here. If you guys are enjoying these success stories, well, you can become your own success story. You can do that by heading over to Carnivore.diet. You can sign up for a free 30-day trial and get started today. We're looking forward to supporting you. Our community is wonderful, and we'd love to see your success.